Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. For today, I'll be counting down my picks for the top 10 games that had incredibly good soundtracks. For this list, I will be going over the soundtracks that deserve a spot in your music library. They're not necessarily the greatest of all time, but you will definitely be missing out if you don't hear them. If there's a musical triumph I missed, please let me know in the comment section, as I had other great games I just could not squeeze into this top 10, and I'd love to know what your favourites were. Gran Turismo games, just like Forza, always had quality licensed music tracks as far back as Gran Turismo 1's intro remix of Manic Street Preachers' Everything Must Go by the Chemical Brothers, all the way to Gran Turismo 6's vast in-house music library by Gran Turismo legend Daiki Kasho. However, the fifth game in the Gran Turismo series was for me the most enjoyable experience of the series, and one of the reasons why was because of its awesome soundtrack. What made GT5's soundtrack stand out from the other games in the series wasn't just the fact it had some really outstanding music tracks, but the fact it had so many of them. GT5 had a total of 185 individual music tracks, albeit a large portion of them being menu and lounge music designed to make the time spent perusing and customizing cars more relaxing. But a large chunk of GT5's music track list was made up of licensed electronic dance and rock tracks, jazz music, classical music, alternative, world music, it even included Beethoven. GT5 wasn't just a homage to the automobile, it was a homage to driving music in every genre. Gunlord is a classic run-and-gun shooter similar to Turrican, Metroid and Contra. First seen on the Dreamcast and Neo Geo in 2012 and then ported to the Nintendo Switch and PS4 in 2019 and renamed Gunlord X, having extended stages and new bosses not found in the original games. Gunlord is very much the spiritual successor to Turrican, and indeed the music composer Raphael Dill stated that the work of Chris Hulsbeck was a big influence and aimed to emulate the atmosphere of Turrican while creating something new. Gunlord's soundtrack is something special, and just like the game itself, feels like a modernising of the original Turrican OST's tone and feel. There's an epic quality from every track, from Steel and Thunder to Dreamy Ruins, that elevates and motivates you to keep exploring the beautiful levels of Gunlord's Turrican-esque universe. The concept for Hotline Miami was inspired by Nicolas Winding Refn's 2011 neo-noir crime film Drive, and the game managed to capture the essence and the brilliance of the movie, using pixel art for the visuals and 80s synthwave chiptunes for the in-game music. The simple top-down shooting action mixed with stealth elements and that standout 80s inspired synthwave soundtrack made Hotline Miami an instant hit and made the way for a sequel in 2015. The music was truly exceptional in Hotline Miami, with the main compositions coming from artists such as Jasper Byrne, Moon, Scattel and Perturber. The soundtrack reached new levels of brilliance in the sequel, with a total of 52 tracks, with the original composers returning and new artists contributing some beautiful synthwave compositions such as Interlude from Chronicle and more standout tracks from Jasper Byrne such as the incredible Voyager. Hotline Miami 1 and 2's OSTs are so good they really need to be listened to on their own to fully appreciate the outstanding rhythms and melodies from this synthwave music showpiece. The soundtrack in both games is simply a roller coaster of 80s synthwave awesomeness. Originally funded through a Kickstarter campaign back in 2017 and finally launched in March 2021, Narita Boy is a Metroidvania side-scroller with a very unique retro arcade aesthetic, taking heavy inspiration from the 80s. The OST is rooted in the synthwave genre, incorporating classic 80s synth sounds with modern electronica, giving you a true feeling of being sucked into a techno-organic 80s retro future. The gameplay is straightforward platforming action, but the visuals and especially the incredible synthwave soundtrack are truly in another world. Forza Motorsport and Forza Horizon games have been blasting out some of the best licensed music since the original Forza Motorsport release on the Xbox in 2005 and has continued on Microsoft's current systems. Much like the Gran Turismo series, Forza has an almost endless selection of in-house and licensed music in every musical category from some of the best commercial artists of our generation. The games that really stood out as a high point in the Forza back catalogue of exceptional game music are Forza Motorsport 2 and 3 and Forza Horizon 1, 2 and 3. But every version had their moments, from the ambient tones of Lance Hayes' outstanding menu music in Forza Motorsport 4 to the vast assortment of popular licensed tracks that can be accessed through Forza Horizon's in-game radio stations. The choice is almost endless. You wouldn't normally associate an arcade game made in 1981 as the perfect source for one of the best soundtracks ever written, but the Super Nintendo's first incarnation of Donkey Kong was indeed such a game. It set new standards for its visuals with pre-rendered sprites that made Donkey Kong one of, if not the very best looking game on the system. David Wise, the music composer, wanted the soundtrack to break new ground like the visuals did, and he definitely achieved it here. Donkey Kong attempted to evoke a feeling of the environment you were in, from African-inspired jungles and frozen landscapes to dark caverns and oceanic reefs, while mixing natural environmental sounds with atmospheric melodies inspired by 80s synthesizer film soundtracks and 90s rock music and dance music. Not only was Donkey Kong Country one of the best platformers ever seen, but its atmospheric melodies managed to set the bar for musical quality on the Super Nintendo to this day. Unreal Tournament, developed by Epic Games and Digital Extremes, is the second installment in the Unreal series. It was first published by GT Interactive in 1999 for Windows and later released on PlayStation 2 and Dreamcast by Infogrames in 2000 and 2001 respectively. Unreal Tournament is often considered one of the best video games ever made, and the soundtrack managed to live up to the lofty praise for the game also. Composed by Alexander Brandon and Michael Vandenbos, who also worked on the first Unreal game, composing outstanding tracks such as Nally Chant and Wargate retained the same musical awesomeness for Unreal 2 and stepped it up a notch, using elements of chiptune, drum and bass, metal and liquid funk to create something that was quite remarkable. Consistently epic is probably a fair summary of what you can expect when you play Unreal Tournament, all 30 tracks being outstanding and at least 7 or 8 of them being godlike. Take a listen to the tracks Foregone Destruction and Nether Animal and you will get a good idea of what to expect. Unreal is a fair description of the type of music you will find playing Unreal and Unreal Tournament games.
Who's next?
Hades is one of the best dungeon crawlers you can play, but its soundtrack was on another level. Darren Korb, the composer of Hades, who did some of the in-game voice acting, described the soundtrack as Mediterranean prog rock Halloween. It's a perfect description for a bizarre mix of traditional Greek instruments and progressive rock. Whatever your music preference is, you're bound to find a track or a melody in Hades that sticks in your head for long after you finish the game. Hades is not only a great indie game, but its soundtrack is simply a masterpiece. Just listen to the crazy drop in about halfway through the track Out of Tartarus and again in Mouth of Styx, and you'll get a flavour of what to expect in Hades. For those that have played it, Halo needs no introduction as a game or a template of how to produce an epic music score time and time again. The Halo franchise always had incredible soundtracks, from the original launch title for the Xbox in 2001 up to the release of Halo Infinite in December 2021. Martin O'Donnell was approached by Bungie to produce something ancient and mysterious for Halo's debut. This turned out to be the theme for most of the Halo franchise OSTs, from the psychedelic space rock inspired tracks in Halo 2, the digital organic compositions found in Halo 4, and the mysterious orchestral chants and tribal melodies found in Halo Combat Evolved and Halo Infinite. Whatever your taste in music, you are sure to find what you are looking for somewhere in the vast assortment of Halo's epic musical universe. The Halo franchise has got one of the most epic collections of video game music that's ever been produced in the modern era. Before I get to my top pick, here are a few honourable mentions. After working on the outstanding soundtrack for the Killer Instinct reboot, Mick Gordon went on to arrange this masterpiece for the 2016 reboot of Doom. The Doom OST is exactly the kind of intense headbanging soundtrack you want in a first-person shooter if you find yourself on a relentless fight on Mars against the forces of hell. If you've ever played Asteroids, you'll have a good idea how to play Beat Hazard, but what makes this indie game very unique is the fact that the music has a direct impact on gameplay. The music track you choose before each level determines the difficulty, how quickly the enemy ships spawn, as well as the intensity of your ship's guns. As for the music itself, well, it's all fantastic, with a great selection of upbeat electronic dance and rock tracks on offer, and I'd highly recommend playing this one for the music and the unique way it's implemented. After a few goes, you will realise there's nothing more fun than shooting lasers at space junk to the rhythm of your favourite music. The Dreamcast was known for its awesome horizontal shooters, and most of them had exceptional soundtracks, but only a few of them qualified for musical awesomeness. One that did was a hidden gem but little known R-Type clone, simply known as Dux, made by independent German studio Hucast. Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to the channel. It really motivates me to continue making interesting videos like this one. If you have any games you'd like covered, drop a comment down below and I will try and cover them in a future video. Wipeout is all about anti-gravity pod racers, futuristic backdrops and a hyper-realistic feeling of speed backed up with an equally heart-pounding licensed electro-dance soundtrack from well-known artists such as Leftfield, Orbital, The Prodigy and the Chemical Brothers. Even the in-game advertising recommended drinking Red Bull to enhance the racing experience to a new level. Every version of Wipeout on every system was known for its awesome soundtrack, from the very first Wipeout game in 1995 all the way up to the Wipeout Omega collection released in 2017. But the ones that stand out as being particularly awesome are Wipeout 2047 on the PlayStation 1 and Wipeout HD on the PlayStation 3. Whichever version of Wipeout you like playing, you're guaranteed to get some of the best licensed electronica and dance music ever heard, with or without a Red Bull, in any video game. That's the full top 10 roundup, guys. Thanks for watching and I do hope to see you all back here again for the next UGR video. Take care and have a great day.